Live.
Says we're live streamed on mine.
It won't quite yet. It takes a little time. All right, you're good now.
All right, I'd like to call the Amity Board of Education Communications meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. First order of business is the approval of minutes. Any comments or changes to the meeting minutes?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. All right, there are none. I move to approve the minutes from August 27th, 24 meeting.
So if I can see a show of hands of those who approve the minutes. I see Dana, Donna, Mike, and Carol. Okay, perfect.
Do we have any public comments or communication
did
regarding
Not receive any requests for public comment.
All right. So discussion of the fall community forum. So we talked a bit last time about we debriefed, I think, a bit the spring forum. Made a decision about the topic for this forum, so we'll focus on technology and a couple of the things that we thought might be included in this technology bucket were like power school functionality, getting community perspectives on the new state of Connecticut guidance on cell phone use, and then AI. Are there other, so we talked about that. We also talked about having the different roles we need to run a really smooth forum. And we identified about 5. So I guess I'll just circle back to the content for the forum. And if anyone on the committee has ideas for anything else technology related that we might want to include that, we haven't discussed so far. So I was thinking a little bit more about the conversation about like cell phones and the guidance, the state of guidance, and thought maybe the committee might tee up a question that that Jen, you could answer, or someone else from the administration could answer, to just sort of explain to the attendees like what is that, that there is guidance, what the guidance is, to start with. So we wouldn't ask any other questions, and that could just be like our internal question, right? You can tee that up. We might indeed get that question from someone in the public, but we might not. But I think we should start there when it comes to questions about that guidance. And then I think everything else. Oh, I think the other thing I think maybe that you mentioned, Jen, last time was like offerings in the school, right? Like what kind of, like, besides talking about AI, but talking about like what courses, like technology related courses are available for students. I mean, I think the thing we need to sort of be prepared for is like a gamut of technology related questions.
Yeah.
Or we can specify, right? Like we're covering these things.
I think we can, and I'll, again, my meeting with Kat is tomorrow, but, I think giving people some ideas of what we're prepared to answer. I meet with the teachers union tomorrow also. But I have a pretty diverse panel of people kind of from all over the place that I think are going to be good to put together to do this. So I think we're going to be able to kind of manage almost anything. And if there's something really out there, I think the people I'm putting together are going to be able to do this. So I'm not too worried about getting some odd out of the blue questions. I think we'll be all right there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And I think one of the things again, when I put my panelists together, we've done this in the past when we've thought it's been a high interest topic, but people don't know what to ask, is I can have the panelists come up with maybe 2 or 3 questions that they field kind of as part of their job on a day-to-day basis. So if there
Ah.
aren't a bank of questions that you guys get in, you have
Mhm.
things that you can start asking that we can then start the conversation going, and then hopefully that generates more questions. So I'll have those for you, and it can definitely get the conversation started.
When we talk technology, what are we prepared, or I'm sorry, I missed the intro to the call, to talk about AI?
Yeah, I have an incredible team who's ready to do that.
Okay, thank you.
So we talked briefly about, I brought it up last night about surveying students, families about cell phones in schools and having access to their students. I know we talked about this last time
So
as well.
why don't we stick with our agenda, which right now is community forum, but then I think at the end we could introduce a new business item and talk about survey, which would be something totally different.
Sure. No
Perfect.
problem. We can do that.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries.
So I have, I know we've done this before. I have kind of a proposed timeline for how this has to work because I have to backtrack into the forum. But I do need your input on a couple, mostly the date of cultivating the questions. So the forum is the 21st. In the past, one or two board members, usually two board members, have gotten together, sometimes three, to kind of figure out the questions that you're going to ask, like to look for the redundant ones, to put them in an order that makes sense. I kind of wedged that between October 17th and 19th. That's sort of that Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame, which has happened in the past. I don't know if that works. That's kind of the most critical piece for you guys, is that opportunity to get together and figure out what questions you're going to ask and who's going to do that and kind of when. If you did the question culling, I can close the questions either Friday the 11th, which is right before the Indigenous Peoples Columbus Day weekend, or I could close them the Tuesday after. It's just, and that's probably something I'll talk to Kat about which one she thinks is better for people, like to get those final reminders. She's pretty good with like how you time things out to kind of get maximum input. I would do a pop-up forum reminder, Facebook, and then like a text message on the 16th to remind people about it. I would do a pop-up on the 7th and a Facebook to remind people the questions were closing on the 11th or 15th. And with all of that, I actually think the forum information could go out on September 30th. Through like School Messenger and on Facebook. So that's 2 weeks at least for people to submit questions. But I would also probably include a little something about it as part of Paul's newsletter that goes out this month. So that will go out in the next like week or so. So that's kind of, so the biggest thing I need to know is when you guys are able to get together at 2 or 3 of you to look at the questions that were submitted, because all the other dates are contingent on that.
I'm totally fine doing question review. It's just the way the format that you sent it in on the Google Docs was a nightmare. I couldn't get back into it. I couldn't do anything with it. Is there any way it could be in just an Excel document?
Yeah, I can download it from the Excel. So I give you access in the Google so you can see it, but I can absolutely, when I close it, pull it out and put it into an Excel doc and
Because
send it that
I'm
way.
happy to help review the questions, and I'm whatever the timeline is, I'm just as soon as we can get the questions, I'm happy to help review them and narrow them down. It was just a nightmare the last time because I couldn't get into the document.
Yeah.
And I definitely would like to do it either the Thursday before. It could be on a Zoom, or I'm happy to go to someone's house, or someone can come to my house and we can look at them, because I didn't feel as though we were as prepared as we could have been. And I feel like it got a little mishmashy with trying to write everything down. And so I would like to try to make it be a little cleaner this time.
So I'm happy to, so that was the next item I was going to bring up, Jen, so, volunteers for going through the questions. I'm happy to like go through the questions again. And Dana, so Jen, my recommendation is to close the questions on the 15th. And
Yep.
I could go through the questions, Dana, on the 17th or the 18th.
Yeah, I think the
So I could do
17th
like
is
the
probably
evening
fine.
of the 17th.
Let me
Okay.
just check my calendar really quickly.
So I could do that evening. And if anyone else wants to join us.
The 17th is fine for me. I can put it on my calendar right now.
What time
Okay.
would you be doing the 17th?
We would probably do it between like 5:30 or like 6 o'clock. Like
Yeah, 6
to-
is better just because I don't get out of work until 5, so it's a mad dash to
Yeah.
get home.
It usually takes about 2 hours. Like at least 2 hours. Like the first time Jenny and I did it, I think we spent probably 2.5 hours. I mean, we also probably had maybe more questions and it was first time, but it takes a little bit of time. So we could plan for for 6 o'clock on the 17th to do that. And if the communications folks are okay with closing out questions the 15th, I always like to give people like, an extra day before they close. The other thing we will need is someone to cruise the room during the forum, just to make note of people who are raising their hands. So that's something else. Note taker, and someone reviewing the live questions as they pop up, to give those who are asking the questions during the pre-submitted questions like a heads up to say, we have, I don't know, 20, like cut it off. So we can either sort of continue, we could get lots of questions and we'll have to like cut it off after an hour and like open it up to the live audience for the last half hour, or if there are no live questions, we just continue with the other questions. So we'll need someone to sort of flag that for us. So so reviewing the live questions, cruising the room, and note taker. And then we said, so Dana and I will review the questions ahead.
What time
So
does it
Kara,
start?
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I can, if you need someone else to help review the questions,
Okay,
I can do that as well.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll give a tentative on that. I wouldn't mind being involved in looking at the questions and seeing how that works. Jen, I got a question to you, just because you're talking about a panel or people helping you out on it. The opening day where you guys did the Teacher of the Year ceremony that me and Sage came to.
Yep.
Are you gonna I forget the gentleman's name that did that whole presentation on AI?
Right.
Something
Yeah.
along those lines, because coming from a parent of a student in the high school now, like that gentleman made me walking out of there with like 7 or 8 questions in my head that I never even thought about towards AI. Coming from the
So
school way.
yeah, so I can't actually get Mr. Costa, but what I will have will be some of most of it. So I have a small committee at my school that is my AI initiative committee, and so I'll pull at least 2 people from that. They
Right.
are,
I wasn't saying him. I was saying something along
Yep.
giving a presentation similar to his, because I think a lot of us as parents, if they show up, that was an education for me, just sitting and listening to what that gentleman had to say. There was a lot in there that I didn't even anticipate coming out of that presentation.
so
A lot of the questions might not be as valid as the information that you might be able to deliver, pre-thought, if I'm saying.
yeah. So we haven't in the past used the forum for us to present, because again, it's been sort of more community come to us, but this is sort of the first time where I think we're presenting things. We're trying to be proactive and present things that are coming down the pike as opposed to things that have already hit us. So let me think on that and see if there is a way of getting that information out, or it may be something that we can pre-share like through the
Right.
community happenings and things like that, that would start to get people thinking. And I can talk to that committee about that.
Yeah, I think that would be a wonderful if you could get any version of that, just
Okay.
at the community's thinking ahead of what, like, if you asked me to send a question in now, my question would be very different than what it would have been a month ago.
Okay.
Jen, I think also if
So-
there's access to like a webinar, I don't know if that, you know, it was recorded, or like webinars that talk about AI that you think might be helpful, like sending, like
Yeah,
something that's
that's what
already done.
yeah, that's what I think I'm doing is I'll see if they
Okay.
have anything that they can sort of push out to, and again, it would be part of our communication, but I can also put it into community happenings and stuff like that. So I will work on that.
What
Yeah.
time does the forum start?
6:30 and it goes until 8 o'clock. It's a hard hour and a half.
So I think we should just out the gate, cut the questions off at like, you know, to take live questions, like we should do it like at 7:30, like give it an hour, and then 7:30, we should just be, that's it. Like we're gonna take what's going on in the audience. That just from the last one and judging, that's
Dana,
what,
I
unless
think-
there's no live,
Dana, that is the plan.
Yeah.
to cut it off at 7:30.
Yeah, so we talked about it last time and I mentioned it just a few minutes ago. So an hour of the pre-submitted questions will stop. That's why we need that person who's also watching the live questions, right? Because we cut it off at the hour and then open it up to the audience for the last half an hour. And then if there are no live questions, we still have pre-submitted questions, we would just continue with that.
Okay.
I think the most important role, well, it's not the most important role. The role though that carries the most weight for this going beyond the forum is the note taker. And you know, it's just got to be somebody who is got again keen listening skills, who can get the ideas down. We can always, as a school staff, sort of edit the responses like after they've been put into, you know, the answer format. We can validate it for accuracy, but it's the note taker piece that that I know that's been our struggle, but that's also how the forum is preserved past the forum night.
Any takers for note taking? I can,
Yeah, I'm not good at it. I'm not good at the whole list, everything, like all of that task. It's just, I'm not good at it.
So maybe this is a place where you sort of reach out to other board members if it's not our strong suit, and just see if there's anybody who can listen and type at the same time.
Cruising the room.
I'll cruise the room.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And then reviewing the live questions. So I think once before, we've done it both ways. Once before, the same person like watched the live questions while the like pre-submitted ones were being asked. And then once those questions started being asked, they sort of cruised the room, but we've also had like 2 different people doing that. I would say for this time, maybe let's try 2 different people, unless we just don't, you know, have any takers for those. I don't know. What do you all think? Or am I just thinking too much? That
I mean, definitely from my recollection, the more successful forum that we had was there was a person asking the preset questions. And then there was a person with the live questions, because the live question person had to make sure their live question hadn't already been asked in the preset, but also sometimes the live question was directly related to like sort of a follow-up, and would occasionally interject like appropriately, like be like, oh, well, you just talked about this. Could you go back and answer this question? So again, it was a focus thing, and it was that one was more a focus on what questions have been asked and what ones do I have here and how do they fit in together.
So it's Kathy. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so my phone drops for a while. If I have to check my calendar, if my calendar works, I can try and do the note taking. I mean,
Okay.
I'll give it my best shot. Let's put it that way. And you can always fire me for the next forum, but I'll try.
This is a
But let
job
me
you don't
check
get
my
fired from.
calendar. Let me check my calendar and I'll confirm.
And actually, Kathy and Jen, I actually think we should have 2 people.
That may help.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should have 2 people and then things can be reconciled, right? So I will try to find a second person to take notes. And then Kathy, hopefully your calendar allows you to participate.
Right.
But I think I was thinking like two note takers might be would be ideal.
If I can hand transcribe and Kathy will type it afterwards, I'll get Scott to work with her. I'm not typing on hand right there. I can hand transcribe and deal with it after.
It gets really crazy because with everybody talking and trying to listen, and it just gets nuts. I mean, me and Carol tried to do everything last time, and that was ugly.
Yeah, but Dana, I think I'm hoping for the note takers. I think part of the like stress last time was like asking, but then also listening to write, but not like listening because you may have a follow-up question just as the question asker, right? That
Right.
Just that you think that that folks would want to have an answer to. So yeah, so I think
So
hopefully
I do have to say this. I think the first time we did it, Jenny took a different approach, and this maybe made it a little easier. She, what I remember, had the list of questions that were pre-submitted that were going to be asked in sort of that first hour. They were already laid out, and she only put in the answers to those questions. So it made it so she knew what question was coming. She heard it asked, and then she put in those answers to those questions. She didn't do any follow-ups to those pre-submitted questions. And then at the end, she just kind of, I would say, ad-libbed the live questions and answers. But it was a little bit more of a structured note-taking system that she had that I think could make it easier. And again, it was kind of, Dana, what you were asking, it was an Excel sheet. She had the question and then she had the cell underneath to put the answer in.
no, actually we didn't take any. We barely took notes. I think it was literally like I think the first time we may have gotten responses from the administration, but like we didn't take any more notes than just like like bullets. I think it was literally like from memory and from
Okay.
asking. But
well, and but again,
yeah.
in bullets, you can turn into sentences.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be terribly fancy. So yeah, I think we can simplify the note-taking process a little bit, but
we don't have to have word for word. We just need
No.
to catch the essence of the answer. It could be
Absolutely.
really short. Yeah.
So is there any reason that the pre-submitted questions can't have a pre-written answer? So that
Yeah,
the note
because
taker, go ahead.
because I don't know which panelist is going to actually take it.
Okay, so
Right.
there's no prep with the panelists?
Not particularly. Sometimes we will, I mean, in other times when I've been like, okay, you're going to, I mean, I can say to, people, you're going to be my AI people when the question comes, you're going to be my cell phone people, you're going to be my Schoology people, you're going to be my Power School people. But my Power School people and my Schoology people both have equal knowledge of how both those systems work. My Schoology person sits on the AI committee. So they're going to ping off of each other. It's not going to be, and that's the beauty of the forum, right? Is it's a conversation. It's a little more free form, and they will absolutely sort of, respond to each other.
They have seen the pre-submitted questions, right? The panelists, they know the pre-submitted questions.
In the past, yes, but it's always been administrators. This is probably the first one I'm going to have that I'm hoping is teacher heavy. And I mean, I can get that to them, but I can't really ask them to do much work beyond their school day around this. So
right.
walking a delicate balance there.
Oh, no, I understand. So my question is, I guess I was under the impression that the panelists had the question, therefore they had bullet points, their talking points. And that would help to get the talking points to whomever is taking the notes, and then they can, you're not starting at ground zero, you actually have, you have bullet points, and then you can just fill it in. So you're not rushing to get as much of the information as possible written down.
So they definitely have the questions, and I'd say they have bullet points, but nobody has a script. If you look and you watch us sit up there, we're sitting there without paper. It's all bullet points in our brains.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's actually in business, that's exactly what it is. You're not writing a script. You
Yeah.
use bullet points and you talk from the bullet point.
Yeah.
Donna, I think, well, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect that their prep, right? They're shown the questions, like after we organize, right? They like look at the questions. I think their prep is like, I think they're busy prepping, like to make sure that like they have looked at, you know, somebody might ask about a specific number or something like that. And so I don't know that it's not written down. So I think it would add a little bit more burden. So it makes sense. I get what you're saying. Like if they're prepping, like write it down. But some of that prep may not require them to write it down because it's part of what they do, but it's just like making sure you're fresh, right? So
I think fresh is a nice way to put it. Yeah, that's what a lot of the prep is, because they already know a lot of this. But, you know, and again, I can ask, I can see, because it's going to be a different group of panelists. They may come at it from a different strategy. I can speak certainly for the admin team. We will probably not have anything written down ahead of time, particularly if we're handling cell phone stuff, because we just kind of live and breathe it to begin with.
I was just trying to figure out a way that the note taking could be
easier.
Could be easier
Oh, yeah.
and very accurate.
So the two people that I think I have Dana for the room, Kathy, and maybe one other person for the live questions. We still need, or sorry, for the note taker, we still need a live question person, and then like the formal question asker.
So I'm going to just let you know I may have a conflict for that evening. That's why I'm not raising my hand to anything but the pre-submitted questions reviewing.
Well,
I
then
mean,
if you want to change, I can swap out. If Donna can do the review with Caroline, then I can switch to the live question asker, or, you know, so that we can swap
I
out.
mean,
I could also ask, like I think Patrick was involved last time, so I can reach out to Patrick to see if he wants to do like a lot of questions.
I mean, Carol, in the past, the communications chair has been kind of the primary question asker. And yeah, I would. So the one thing that I don't have on this panel, which we've had in the past, is a board member. And you know, in the past, the topics have kind of lent themselves to board members who like had sort of a direct connection into this stuff. And I don't really know.
Actually, you could ask Sudhir. So Sudhir teach. I mean, yeah, Sudhir's he like changed his class maybe 2 years ago, and he's doing a lot of AI stuff. So I mean, check with him, but I think he's pretty knowledgeable and is like using it in his class. Like,
Okay, perfect.
So he might be a great person for the panel.
Great.
So we have, just want to make sure. So Dana, did you want to do the live questions, or do you? I can see.
I'm just saying, if Donna wants to do the review with you because she can't come to the actual forum, I'm happy to swap. Let her, if she's available, to do the review with you on the 17th, and then I'll just do the live questions.
Okay.
I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
But I don't
okay,
know.
so
Donna's not answering, so maybe that means she's not going to be
No.
available for that.
No, I'm listening. So yeah, so I may have a conflict. So for the forum, so I am completely available as far as I know for the 17th for review, and with Carol and with you, Dana. I mean, I haven't done it before, so having somebody who has looked at them and sorted them in the past might help go a little faster. faster.
Well, then, so
But I don't want to speak for you.
you're breaking up, Donna. I'm not hearing you. You can put me down to ask the questions. I can do the review and ask the questions. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. That explains why you weren't answering. Can everybody else hear me, or was I breaking up for everyone?
You were breaking up, but you're
Oh,
better now.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. So yes, so I'm happy to do the review. I can't commit to the 21st, and I was just saying that having somebody who has gone through the questions before would be helpful, because I haven't seen the raw questions prior or done any of the sorting.
So,
I mean,
Carol, why don't you reach out and see if there's a board member who could be an extra help for Kathy with notes, and somebody who can monitor the live question feed. If we got that, we're good to go.
Okay, great.
And I'll reach out to Sudhir to see if he can sit on as the panelist.
So I just
Okay.
reached out. Yep. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna move us along in the agenda. Because I need to wrap us up early today. Anything else regarding the forum or the timeline that Jen laid out? All right, the next item on our agenda is discussion of topics for the BOE chair newsletter.
Yeah. So we're in kind of the weird intermediate stage now that we're switching to the two meetings. My thought for this week's chair's newsletter, I think first would be an explanation of moving to the two meetings and what sort of the vision is for that, because I don't want people to not know that there's a second meeting. And I know, we talked about it at the last one, Paul mentioned it again at this one, but I just have a feeling that that's not being paid attention to.
It's not. I got questions. Yeah.
So that would be one of the topics. I can definitely just do a quick summary of the three policies that were passed, because that's something that we've typically done. So that way people are aware of what's changed. And I can do a message about the forum as sort of a heads up. And then along with that, Carol, do you want to share your suggestion that we talked about kind of before we went online around the state guidance and kind of getting that out there on the cell phones?
Yeah, no, I think
So-
I think that would be good.
So Carol had the idea that not everybody even knows that there's state guidance on cell phone policies. And so again, to generate thoughts on the community forum, to maybe put out to our community that, hey, there's guidance. This is what it's recommending. We're having a forum. We'd love to hear your input. We don't have any sort of, like, because I didn't have my superintendent's report, we didn't have the student report. I usually try to put in some like good news stuff. I don't really have any sort of like kind of kid-centered stuff for the newsletter for this week. But when we start going, I'll use the September reports to go into the October newsletter. So we'll get caught back up after this September newsletter. Is there anything else that should go in?
We can't put anything about the you're looking for communications related stuff or just in general stuff?
Just in general stuff. The stuff that goes into is like the things that go into Woodbridge Town News and
About the library, the media center.
Yeah, I mean, we could give an update that you guys appropriated the funds and sort of where we are in the process. It hasn't I think we put it in when we originally started the project, but we really haven't done an update yet.
So could we also put in that the towns, anything about the towns to be determined, we'll be getting back? Or we can't do that.
I usually wait until the audit's done, because if I put out the wrong numbers, there's certain people who get mad that I put out the wrong numbers.
So when does the audit happen?
So our audit usually finishes in October or November. We always try to get them on the books to present in December. last year we had a conflict because they were already scheduled in another school, but since they're so far ahead with us, I asked Terry to try to get them scheduled for December, like right now. So if they can, it should be.
So that would go in the December newsletter then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what about, I know this is kind of stupid, but I know I've heard before school started, a lot of people were concerned about the new parking lot regime. What if we put an update saying that, you know, the new spots and the not having designated spots has made the line less, because we got that report from Sophia, right? Is she our, Sophia's our? So,
Sophia, yeah.
yeah,
Actually,
because
I
a
like
lot
that,
of
Dana.
people were upset about not having a special, a designated spot. So that might be something that could be like, hey, this worked.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that.
absolutely.
So Jen, is there any reason I tried to watch the meeting that I missed for August when we were talking about having 2 meetings, but there are some technology issues with the video. Is there a reason why we wouldn't have because I got questions around why wasn't there a student report, like why we couldn't, and maybe you discussed this and why the agenda was set the way it was, to have a student report every 2 weeks and a superintendent's report every 2 weeks, or do you feel that's too short?
A little too short, and I'm also trying to kind of manage the expectations for both the students who are writing the reports and trying to get that information when they're balancing everything else that they do. But a lot of it is around my admins. So if you'll notice, I had my operationals team there last night, and my instructional team will be at the second meetings. The principals wanted to be present during the student reports because questions sometimes come up about what the kids report on that they can then answer. So none of the principals wanted to have a student report where they weren't able to answer or address something if it was unique to them. And I do not want to overburden all of my admins by asking them to come to 2 meetings a month.
Fair
So
enough.
that's how we
Yeah.
split it up.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
I think overall that I feel like it was very efficient last night.
And yet somehow seemed
I
that
agree.
we had better conversations. So I don't know how it all worked, but if we can keep it up, we're good.
Yeah, I think people are just not, I think, the longer
They're
we
not-
talked about it last time, they're not exhausted. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's worked all day. It just,
When you
It's
hit
still a
9
little
o'clock,
fresh.
9 o'clock, we start losing people. And I was really happy with the way last night went. And it was nice to be able to have time to talk about other things.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
So I'm gonna move us along, and Donna, I'm so sorry, you brought up surveying students about cell phone usage, but I'm gonna, if it's okay, can we table it and we can add it to the agenda for next time? And I think it's a fabulous idea, and I think maybe bringing it up during our next board meeting might be a good thing too. But any, I guess, new business or announcements before we close?
Sure. Oh, Carol, do you want to just send that suggestion to Paul about the
Oh, to
surveys?
Paul? Yeah.
Right. And then for the agenda, so we can just talk about it if you want to do it there instead of doing it here
Yeah, no,
in
I
our
think
next meeting.
Yeah.
It's a board. I think it's a board conversation.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's a good one. So anything for new business? So in terms of like action items for me, so I emailed Patrick Reed already, and I'll email some other people to see if they'd be willing to be note takers. But other than sort of we'll figure out who's going to do the live questions and note taking, some of the other positions are covered. We have a date to review the questions. So we have the 17th from 6 to 8. Me, Donna, and Dana. And Dana, we'll see. We'll see what comes back in terms of folks being interested in taking some of those other roles.
Sounds good.
In the past, we typically have not had a communications committee meeting during the months of the forum because you're putting in so much other work prepping for it and then hosting it. Our next meeting would typically be scheduled on October 8th, but if you want to, we can cancel that I'll have more than enough to figure out a newsletter for the board chair to send out for the month of October, because we'll have to catch up all with the September stuff. And then we could have our November 12th meeting would be the follow-up right after the forum and after the November meeting. So if you guys wanted to sort of give yourselves a little bit of break, because I know a lot of work goes into the forum, you could skip the October communications committee meeting.
What does everybody think? That is traditionally what we've done.
Yep.
I'd be fine with that.
Same.
I'm fine with it.
Same.
Okay. Okay. Anything for our, I guess it would be our November agenda.
I suppose we would just review the forum and any feedback. Right. The feedback, if any, and maybe there's something I just don't recall. Was it discussed where the notes would reside on the website for anyone who missed it?
Yep, that's eventually what the plan is, but right now I don't have any notes to put up there. So
They're coming.
when I do,
Right. Oh, is there a place? I guess the question is there currently a placeholder where
no,
it will
I
live
haven't.
at
I
some
haven't.
point? Okay.
I haven't asked our website designer to build it yet, because I wanted to have something to put there, but it will be it'll be located in the board's page. And she'll be able to put the topics and we'll probably do a little cover about what the purpose of them are and everything like that. So we'll build a site for it, but I just want to have something to populate the site with.
Okay, so maybe that could be on the November agenda, or is that a little too maybe too soon after?
I mean, I don't
any
think it'll be
ideas
too soon. I mean, Jen, you'll have completed sheet well before then, but I don't know that we'll have much to talk about, because the note takers may still be reconciling or like finishing it. I think it's within 2 weeks of the form. So
yeah, I think that based on our past experience, that's too soon. And even when the note takers are done, it still comes back to school staff for editing and making sure it's accurate. So it takes usually a while.
Right. It would be great to know what the structure of the website is, where it's going to live, and how it will be accessed.
maybe
at some point.
you could bring that back in November, December, Jen.
So yeah, I mean, if we have it built, it'll, but I imagine it's going to be, again, very similar to what you're seeing on the board website. It'll just be another drop down in that area.
Okay.
Yep.
But by the way, the high school website is very nice. I went in to find something and it was a lot easier.
It's a different method of thinking, but it is definitely far more organized and way more cleaned up. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll pass
A
it
lot
on
less
to
clicks. A lot less clicks. So it was nice. Thank you.
I will pass that on to our website manager, because she's been doing a lot.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I mean, we'll be in touch, especially Donna and Dana, as we get questions, and we can do anything else sort of over any information to send by email or.
You have my cell phone number, Carol, because I know home emails. I don't check Board of Ed or home emails until like later in the day, just because of work.
Yeah, so that's fine. We can figure out a time.
To join the line.
Sorry, we can figure out a time. So,
Okay.
if there's nothing else, I'd like to.
No, I will get back to you on the 28th.
Oh, I will find you, Kathy.
Okay. Do you have my cell number?
I have a list of
Oh,
numbers,
you do.
So can we get I have an old list on that. Jen, is there a way to get an updated list with everybody's contact information sent to us?
Yep, I'll include it in the weekly update this week.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, well, I am going to close this out and get on my flight. I'd like to close this out at 6:18 p.m. Yeah. Any
All right,
other-
meeting adjourned without objection.
Meeting adjourned. Safe travels,
Okay.
Carol.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good